Chronicles of a Female Engineer. Welcome to today's episode, Chronicles of a Female Engineer. What I want to talk about today is around safety interactions. Now, safety is a key attribute or key element of being an engineer. Every role you see will have a key focus on this, and this is simply because the work that engineers do is really critical. There's an element of ethics that underlines everything that an engineer has to execute, and that's essentially because we design products, we design processes and products, and there's an element of safety that has to be considered as part of all of this role. Now, in engineering or in a mining and manufacturing environment similar to the ones I've been in, what is important is being able to check whether what you plan to do is what has actually happened. So a key way that this is translated is when a job is happening, a maintenance job, where let's say a pump or some sort of equipment has broken down, and essentially you now have to go and fix it. So what will happen is there'll be a process to essentially ensure that that pump is in a safe way, a safe place to access, safe place to work on, and in a safe place and safe condition to reinstall and put back into operation. So there'll be people that think about what conditions need to be provided to allow this pump to be safely fixed, and then there are people that have to come and fix it. So when I talk about safety interactions, it's really about going through and checking these processes to ensure that what we intended to do is what's actually happening. Now, a fixing of a pump will often have a work instruction. It may have a risk assessment. The work instruction details how to go about fixing the pump. The risk assessment will detail what hazards and risks are associated with that job and what controls will be applied to keep you safe. So let's say you might have a pinch point or crush point risk, a hazard for your fingers. As you try and lift the pump up, you could have your fingers crushed. So what is a potential way to stop you from getting hurt? Well, you apply a control. That control could be to make sure someone's lifting it out for you rather than yourself. So using a mechanical aid. Or can the job be done without moving, without that risk? If it's not, and you can't lift it out of place, and you have to do it there, well, maybe you'll have to wear some gloves that stop you from actually getting crushed there. So there's a few layers, and you may be familiar with the hierarchy of control. And essentially, this is like a triangle, and at the top there is elimination. Take it out, engineer it out. If you don't have to do it, take it away. And then there's substitution. Can you change it for something else? Can you change the environment in which you have to do the task? So in this example, perhaps you could do it in the workshop instead of doing it, fixing that pump in the plant. The other option is to use some procedures, some administrative controls to essentially try and make sure that someone doesn't hurt themselves. And the last line of defense is often your PPE, your personal protective equipment. And just as your gloves, your mask, your helmet, your glasses that stop you from being exposed to some hazardous chemical on your hands, anything that could flick into your eye in terms of dust or hazardous chemicals, face shield to keep you from heat or splashback, and a helmet to keep you from any dropped objects from up above. So it's quite exciting. You go out there and you have a discussion. You go out to the job site, and it can be quite confronting at first because you might not A, know what's going on in the job, or B, have any idea about how to help someone. So what I like to think about when you go out for these audits or in-field assessments, I like to think of it as an interaction, a safety interaction. And the reason is, one, you've got an opportunity to have a two-way communication with the people that are doing the job. So it's not just you going and enforcing something, you're actually inquiring. And two, it's an opportunity for continuous improvement. What can you do better next time? I love reflection, I love improving things. So Those are the ways to approach a safety interaction. So what I do, I go over there and I'm like, hi, I'm here to, assess the job that you're doing and see if there's anything that we can, do better next time. So can you give me a bit of a rundown on the job that you're doing here today? And they might say, hey, look, we are fixing this pump. We know that there was some acid in the process, so we've made sure that it's been adequately flushed and cleaned out with some water, so there's no real extra acid risk we need to be aware of. We also know we're going to have some pinch points or crush points, so we've got our gloves here. We know there could be some welding involved, so we've got our gear. And we've got a hot work permit, and we've been told that it's safe to start. So already that gives me an understanding of what's going on in the job. Another thing I like to do is to assume that if this was my dad or my mum or my friend doing this job, how would I want to help them? So it's you're going there with an attitude of helping, not an attitude of catching them out or reporting an incident or something like that. You're coming there with a helpful attitude, looking to see if there's anything that has possibly been missed. So at times you might find, well, there seems to be some wires hanging over there. Could that be a trip hazard, or has that been adequately de-isolated or electrically made safe? And you just simply ask. You may have thought about something that they may not have considered, and if they say, oh, actually, we didn't think about that, thanks, or oh yeah, we didn't notice, or we'll tidy that up now, let's get that sorted. And you've helped. And then the second question I like to ask is there anything that you would do differently next time if you had to do this job again? And that question can open up a whole raft of information. Oftentimes you might hear, oh yes, we did notice that, a very hot day calls for a lot more water, or you actually it's a two-man job. We thought I could do this by myself, but I have had to call one of my other, fellows to come and help me. So in that way, they've actually identified that, okay, next time that we plan this job, let's ensure there's two people instead of just the one. Let's ensure that we've got the right conditions. We note that there's a hazard there for extra fatigue if the job takes a long time and it's in the blazing sunshine, and to take regular breaks or to have a second person on hand. And in that way, you can actually identify things that you didn't think possible initially. They feel great, you feel helpful for having assisted, and in that way, they can go home in the same way that they came. No one wants to get hurt at work. No one. And as engineers, it's important that we are able to have these conversations. We're able to speak up. We're able to stop, be empowered to stop a job if it doesn't feel safe, or if someone could hurt themselves, and ask them to, hey, I think it's best we stop this and we reassess, get things put into control. Let's just check this and make sure there's nothing to worry about before we proceed. Now, these tools and tips can be applicable in your everyday lives as well when you're navigating difficult conversations. And, it's just helpful to understand both sides of the story and ensure that you guys are on the same page. So that's one little tip and lesson from today's Chronicles of a Female Engineer. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon.